Seeing me now, you would not know that I was on the floor in the fetal position, crying every night, wondering how I was going to survive. Now I feel pretty confident. I feel good. There's good things in my life. There are experiences that I enjoy, and I'm generally not that sad. Sometimes I'll get depressed, sure. That's pretty normal, but I'm not on the floor crying every night, and I can definitely function. So how did I get here after everything that I went through with my ex? Let's talk about that, and I'll give you some tips. When we feel like we're losing somebody, or in the case of a breakup, when we actually are losing somebody, our body reacts with panic. We freak out. That's a normal body response to losing somebody. And I was no different when my ex was leaving me, when he was breaking up with me. He was the one who chose to break up with me, and I was freaking out. I had a really, really hard time with it, and I'm sure you're here because you've been feeling the same way, and I'm sorry for that, because that really sucks. I know what that feels like. I think one of the mistakes that I made when it came to this period of my life was I kept looking back to my ex for happiness. I kept looking to the relationship that we had, and I kept trying to pull him back and stay in that mindset, which again, that's normal. That's just the body response to losing somebody, but it wasn't going to help me be happy because he wasn't interested in making me happy. So after this kind of dawned on me, and it took a little while, I realized well, okay, but how am I going to be happy? Because right now I'm not happy. And if I can't have my ex back, and I can't have that period of my life when I was happy, when can I be happy? When do I get to feel good again? And what I realized was there were other periods of my life when I felt good, like before I met my ex, especially right before I met my ex. I was in a really good place. So I had to remind myself of that. And I thought about what were the things that I was doing back then? What did I like to do? Because I forgot about most of that because the panic of my ex leaving me just kind of overtook my whole brain. So I had to really think about it. And I probably made a list somewhere of what are some activities that I can do that make me feel good. Now, something that I used to love doing, and you may groan when you hear this, so I apologize, but I used to love exercising, and exercise does help us to release those chemicals in our brain that help us to feel good. It generally helps our brain function better. So even if you just do a little bit of exercise, go out and walk, do a couple jumping jacks if you have to, whatever feels good, whatever your doctor recommends. I would say exercise is a good place to start. Having to focus on the exercise can help take your mind off of your ex too. That really helped me, and I should also mention that you should be careful of how you're eating. I'm somebody who forgets to eat when I'm stressed. When you're stressed, you may eat more, or you may eat unhealthy. I also ate unhealthy, and I don't want you to freak out too much about what you're eating, especially if you have an eating disorder, but make sure that you're eating. Make sure that you are fueling your body so that you're not taxing your body in extra ways. All right, so another tip here, something that helped me a lot was I was obsessing about my ex and figuring out what happened. Why were we breaking up? How was this gonna look going forward? I just couldn't take my mind off of it. So one thing that helped me was to put a time limit on how long I was allowed to think about my ex. And then at a certain time, 4 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I don't know, I would just say at this time, I'm going to do something else. I'm gonna read a book, I'm gonna play a game, I'm gonna talk to somebody about a different topic. And I would just limit my time thinking about my ex, because my ex was not a source of happiness anymore. My ex was a source of stress and panic. And while I do think that it's important to try to understand what happened, I do think it helps to bring closure, and I do think it helps you to feel better, to try to understand everything that's going on and put some context around the breakup. It's not good in the long term to constantly live in that state of panic. It taxes your body, it's stressful, it hurts. It will make you upset. It will keep you from functioning well in your normal day-to-day life. So I don't want you to feel guilty if you do this, because it is a normal response, but take the time to start to limit the amount of time that you spend freaking out. As I mentioned, we panic when we feel like we're losing somebody that we're close with in our lives. And the next tip, something that helped me a lot, was to make new social connections and to nurture those social connections you have with the people that you already love, your family, your friends. Make sure you spend time with them, talk with them about the breakup if they're willing to listen, if they're actually supportive. And if that's maybe not their best role for you, just hang out with them and not talk about the breakup. Just talk about things that's going on in their lives, what's going on in your life. Focus on activities that you like to do. I mentioned thinking about stuff that you like to do beforehand. Maybe ask one of your friends if they want to go out and do that thing, whether it's hiking or whatever, I don't know what your interests are. Whatever that interest is, ask your friends if they want to try it with you. And if they don't, that's okay. Look online, find people maybe who have the same interest and see if you can hang out with them. I know that's difficult. I didn't really find that many people who were willing to just be friends, especially in this day and age. But if you can, like, look, just take a look. Find people that have the same ideas as you, the same thoughts as you, people that make you feel like you're less alone in the world, because that social bond, even if it's a light social bond, even if it's just through the internet, it matters. It matters to feel like you can connect to somebody and that you're not totally alone. Even if it's just like support groups for people who've been through breakups or social media, whatever, find it. And I'm really emphasizing this idea of finding other people, because once we get through that panic stage, then we move towards grief. And grief can feel like depression. It's very similar to depression. And we may want to isolate ourselves. We may withdraw from other people. I definitely did this. And while, yes, it helps to cocoon yourself and feel good by yourself and kind of like learn to be a little bit more self-reliant, it also is really good to connect back with other people and realize that you can trust other people and relate to other people. So I just want to emphasize that, withdrawing is comforting, but it's only comforting to a point, because eventually you start to become maybe paranoid, or you start to feel like other people are dangerous or harmful, and that's not really a place that you want to get to. So make sure you stay connected to people. Another thing that I found really helpful was to amplify when I was feeling good. When I actually did something, especially if I planned out a day to do it, like, don't spend that day thinking about your ex. Don't work towards something and achieve it and then think like, well, if only my ex had seen this. Like, don't even let that thought in your head. Just appreciate that you did what you did, appreciate that you're having fun, and like feel that moment and really amplify that moment. You may meditate and ruminate on all the negative things about your ex and the breakup and everything, but if you take that same energy and apply it to the things that are going well, that things that you are enjoying, then you give that more space in your life. So definitely take the time to enjoy it when you're enjoying things. You're allowed to feel good, even in the middle of a breakup, even when things are falling apart. And I think it really helps to work towards something. Start setting new goals, start setting a new vision for the future, because I know for me it was really hard to let go of that old vision, because the vision with my ex of the future that I thought we were going to have together was really enticing, and I really wanted that. So letting go of that was really hard, and that makes the loss really hard, but it helps to start building a vision of a new future, of the possibilities of what could happen from here on out. Maybe now that some of those unhealthy ways of relating to your ex are gone, you can work on yourself and you can find a new person who has worked on themselves and has a better way of relating to people. The things that maybe you sacrificed because you were compromising to stay with your ex, now those are possibilities again. Maybe you can take up those hobbies that I mentioned. Maybe you can work towards a new future. I don't know what your plans are, but maybe you wanted to have a career. Maybe you wanted to have a child and they weren't interested in a child. Whatever it is, that possibility's open now, so start thinking about it. What are some of the positive possibilities that you see for your life? Let me know down below in the comments.